Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and we're doing a much requested armor guide. This one being, well, sort of two requests that have been put together. One is for a Semine armor guide, kind of like I did for Rete and for Skalitz. So we have the 3 suits of armor, and the other one being just green knights. So we've had requests for green suits of armor and specifically Semine, and since Semine's colors are green and white, I figured this was a good way to do it. So we're going to be doing that just like we did with the Lords of Lipa one and the Kobola one. So we will have 3 different suits of armor, one for a guard level, like a high-ranking guard, one for a knight, and then one for a noble. I think these ones turned out excellent because green is my favorite color, so I really love the way these ones look, and we've got some really great armor pieces that made these ones up. So stick around and let's dive on in and I'll show them to you. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I feel like I'm losing it, which is not great, but let's just get to it. So starting us off with our first one, you can see it in front of us here. This one is the Semine Guard. So this one is designed for probably a abnormally high-ranking guard considering how fancy it looks and how good the stats are, but I just absolutely love this. We were able to perfectly match all of the green accents together to make it look so good. It's one of the best looking guard suits that I've ever come up with in the game, but it still doesn't look too ridiculously fancy for a normal man-at-arms to be wearing this. So starting off with weapons on this one, I wanted to make it feel very appropriate for Semine. So since Semine's not that well defended structure-wise of a fortified manor house / castle, I decided the guards there are going to have to be equipped appropriately to defend what it is. So starting off with utility tools for all of these suits, we're going to have a torch and in this case the Brunswick's dagger, just because that's the one I grabbed. So they all have that. The weapons on this one are specifically a poleaxe, because I figured if we're going to have, you know, a guard that could be fighting on foot but also could be fighting from a slightly elevated wall, especially in defense of the gate, a poleaxe is going to be pretty much the best weapon you can use, since it would be a very powerful chopping and smashing weapon, but also has that long spear tip on the top that would make it great for reaching down from the walls. So that's why we went with the poleaxe. Plus, you know, it's obviously just an iconic weapon for someone to be leaning on while they're guarding the front gate. Then after that, we paired a field crossbow and 30 marksman's bolts. So the reason for this is, once again, we're defending walls, we're defending a fortified structure, so whether this person is on the ground inside the fortress defending it against someone else, whether he's on the wall, or whether he's, you know, they've already fallen back to the keep and he's shooting out of windows, having a good powerful crossbow and plenty of ammunition is going to be very, very valuable for these guards. So that's why I went with that. I did not do a sidearm. So this build is all main weapons. We've got a crossbow. I guess the dagger would be the closest thing he has to a sidearm, and we have a polearm. So there's no one-handed axe, there's no sword, nothing. I almost did Gnarly's club, but then I decided against it. So that's our weapons for this one. Moving on to the armor, we have a base layer of pretty much all green stuff. So we start with the green short porpont, because it obviously has tremendous stats and looks awesome with the suit of armor and perfectly matches the green that we're going with. Then of course we have the green high boots. We have the noble's belt and the noble's pouch, because all 3 of these suits of armor are going to be using them. We have the noble's spurs, because A, we want to have spurs for the perk, and B, the noble's ones have green bands on them, so it matches the outfit. And we have the green padded chausses. So once again, we're just trying to match as well as we can, and it works perfectly. So that's our base layer. On top of that, we do have plenty of mail. So we have a mail collar. We have this one that has a green band around it, so, you know, color-wise, it seems like that is the appropriate choice to go with. We have the hauberk long, because it's the best chainmail hauberk in the game, so considering the fact that it gets mostly covered up by the armor, why not go with the best one? And we also have the mail hood with a coat of arms, and we specifically went with the Semine one. This one has the green top, and it has what I believe is the Semine coat of arms on it, so it kind of felt like the obvious choice. Moving on to our top layer with armor, we have the bassinet with aventail. This one has green accents on it. You can see we have the green and white coat of arms there on the aventail on the front, so that matches the Semine coat very well. And then we have light green accents around the face on this one, so it's an open-faced bassinet, and it looks excellent with this suit of armor. I almost went with a kettle cap of some sort, but this one just looked so much better, so I had to go with it. Then we have the green laminar knight legs. These ones look excellent with it. Again, we have lots of green accent, but still some steel, so I like the way that looks. The noble laminar sleeves, same thing. We've got both the green and the steel, and with both of these, we were able to find a variant that matches our cuirass very, very well, so that's why I specifically wanted these 2. Then we have the brigandine gauntlets. Once again, there are 2 different gauntlets gauntlet options you can have that will have a green cuff on them, but these ones actually match the color of the rest of the suit of armor the best, and that's why I went with them. And that's all the armor pieces, so the only thing left on top of that is, of course, Godwin's ring, because we're still inventory locked on this playthrough, so that's why I'm using that one. And then, of course, Lord Semine's necklace, because appropriately, this is the best, most applicable one we have. So this is the one that you can get at the wedding if you win the tournament there. So that is all of the pieces that make up the Semine Guard. As far as what it looks like from the outside, you can see it all looks pretty dang solid. Now, it looks a little bit better on in the screen in there just because the colors are a bit more vivid, but still, this looks tremendously good. So here's our view from the front. You can see, like I said, all of those green accents coming together to make a very cohesive looking, high-ranking man-at-arms outfit. It looks so beefy. I love the way that the arms look, because the small shoulders with that green brigandine material up there pairs so well with the much more beefy steel plate for the rest of it to make it look like you've got these massive arms. But overall, I just really like the way this one looks, so I imagine there's, other variants that I could have come up with for a pretty decent looking Semine or green themed man-at-arms, but this one was my absolute favorite one I came up with. So, stats on this one, for the weight, we have a total weight of 115.6 pounds, and that's for everything. All of the bolts, all of the other weapons, all the utility stuff, and every single thing he's wearing. It's 115.6 pounds. So we did break the 100-pound threshold, but it's not ridiculously heavy. The total value, once again, for literally everything that is equipped, we have 17,261.7 groschen. So pretty dang valuable for a man-at-arms. Now, obviously, we're using some pretty high-level stuff, and it does look really good, but typically, these man-at-arms, I like to aim for 15,000 or less, so this one does break that a little bit, but it looks so good, I couldn't help it. Then for our average armor rating, just moving down the averages, for the head, we have an average of 191.7, for the body, it's 181, for the arms, it's 194.7, for the legs, it's 151, which gives us an overall average armor rating, or AAR, of 179.6, so almost 180, which is definitely more than good enough for a high-level man-at-arms. It definitely is very, very appropriate armor-wise for what we're going for. So that is our Semine Guard, the first suit of armor we're going to be looking at. Let's move on to the next one. So our next suit of armor that we're looking at is the Semine Knight, and it makes sense that we're going to be following what I've kind of been going with in these guides and sticking to my favorite aesthetic choices, which is, of course, full matching plate armor with that sleeveless Waffenrock over the center, and then just making sure our colors coordinate as well as possible. Again, like always, this one's probably my favorite of the three just because I love this aesthetic so much. So once again, we're starting off with our utility. We have the torch and the Brunswick's dagger equipped on this one. But then moving on to our weapons, we just have the two. We have the Knight's sword, which if you're picking a one-handed weapon for a generic knight where we don't have something cool named for it, the Knight's sword is obviously a great choice. Has excellent stats and is nice and beefy and looks awesome in hand. And then we went with the Lords of Semine Knight shield. So there's two different shields we could have gone with, Gnarly shield or this one. This one has better stats, which is why I went with this one. It also says Knight in it, but they're literally identical shields other than the fact that this one has a higher defense stat. So that's the weapons for the Semine Knight. Moving on to the clothing that we're wearing, starting in our base layer, we are pretty similar to the last one, but we change a couple things. So we have the Noble Gambeson instead, so we've got this bright green variant of the Noble Gambeson. We once again have the Noble's belt and the Noble's pouch. We also once again have the green Noble, or the green padded chausses. Then we have Noble spurs, but that technically, since we're not wearing boots, I don't normally say it at this point, but we have it. And we once again also have Lord Semine's necklace and Godwin's ring. So most of that stuff is pretty similar. Really, the only change we had there was the green Noble Gambeson instead of the short Pourpont. On top of that, we do have some mail, but not full because, again, our head covering is only half covered. So we once again have the hauberk long because, like I said, it gets covered up anyway, and it's the best one stat-wise. And we have that mail collar with the green band around it, so you can see where that comes in. But that's all of the mail we're wearing. The armor that we're wearing on top, I went with the Nuremberg plate sleeves for this one, and we went with a plain silver variant that doesn't have any trim on it because it matches color-wise and style-wise the rest of the plate armor that we're wearing. We have the Milanese plate leg armor, and we went with the one with the green straps on the back because obviously if we have a color accent to match, that would be ideal. Plus, the plate armor itself matches the rest of ours color and tone-wise very, very well. Then our cuirass is the cuirass with folds. It doesn't matter a ton which one you use here, but obviously, if you can, the one with the green folds is the best choice because it color-wise matches. And our gloves, I almost went with some Milanese ones, but instead I decided I'd stick with these, the green variant of the Brigandine gauntlets, because it gives us just a little bit more green on the outfit. So I really like the way that looks. And then of course we top it all off with the piece de resistance, the hemmed Waffenrock, and we have this quartered green and white one, which fits the Semine colors perfectly. So overall, this one comes together to be excellent. I absolutely love this one. I want to try and find specifically where to find this Waffenrock. I hope it's in the first region of the game, because I'd really like to come up with a suit of armor like this for what I could wear in my live stream that I currently have going on my hardcore live stream, because I just love this. It looks so good. So taking a look at it from the outside, you can once again see that yes, it does match perfectly. We've got all those green accents, which go really, really well with the Waffenrock, and definitely lean into our Semine colors, matches our shield very well. You of course can see our sword off to the side, and then the shield on the back, which, you know, really screams Semine, and everything else just matches perfectly and fits that aesthetic that I love so much. I don't know what it is about the sleeveless Waffenrock on this, but it just looks so good. I love it though, because in the first game I almost never wore Waffenrocks because I did not like them. But in the second game, the sleeveless variant just looks so good with the plate armor. Absolutely love it. So stats on this one are pretty solid. Once again, keep in mind that we are not wearing any head armor. If you wanted to add head armor to this one to make it a more combat-ready suit, you know, because getting hit in the head kills you in this game, then I would recommend using the helmet that I'll be using on the Semine Noble's outfit, because it matches aesthetically just perfectly with the rest of this outfit. But anyway, moving on to stats, we have a total weight of 106 pounds, so a little bit lighter than our last one, but keep in mind we're not wearing a helmet or a mail coif, so that does account for the amount of weight that we are different here. Total value on this one is 22,586.5 groschen, so definitely appropriate for a knight. It's a very expensive suit of armor for the average person. Most people in this period, especially in this region, would not be able to afford a suit of armor this expensive, so prestige-wise, definitely pretty fancy there. Then for the armor rating, moving down, we'll start with the head, of course, being quite low because we're not wearing a helmet, at 54.7. The body is 197.7, the arms are 197.7, and the legs are 229.7, giving us an overall average armor rating, or AAR, of 169.95. So we're just shy of 170, but keep in mind, we're not wearing a helmet. So both two things. One, that brings our average down quite a bit. If we had a helmet on, this would obviously be a extraordinarily good suit of armor. But also, the other thing to keep in mind is that the average works very well for generally predicting how well your armor is going to hold up against opponents, except for if you have an area that's not being protected, like your head, you could still get one shot. Even though this is a pretty good suit of armor, for the rest of your coverage, the head is, of course, lacking any armor. But that is the Semine Knight. Let's move on to the last suit we're going to be looking at, the Semine Noble. And for the Semine Noble, we pulled out all the stops, and it turned out looking so good. I love this one. It's just absolutely fresh. So for weapons, we're keeping it pretty simple. Once again, we're going to have Brunswick Dagger and the Torch, just our utility tools, and then just one weapon, Radzig Kobol's Longsword. Any longsword would be fine here, but this is the one that, you know, I have locked into my inventory at this point, and it is also really good stat-wise. Plus, it looks awesome. So, lots of reasons why Radzig's Longsword is the one I went with here, but really the point is just any single longsword. Moving on to our clothing, what we're wearing here. Our base layer is pretty simple. We're using items that you've seen in some of the other suits so far. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we're going to have Godwin's Ring, Lord Semine's necklace, and the Noble Spurs, just like the other three suits. We're also going to have the Noble's Belt and the Noble's Pouch like the other suits. Our clothing layer is going to be the same as the Knight. We have that bright green Noble Gambeson and the green padded chausses. On top of that, our mail is going to be the same as the first one. So we have that mail collar with the green belt on it, the hauberk long, and the mail hood with coat of arms. Once again, it's the green Semine variant. Then on top of that, we just have our armor, and the armor is so good on this one. So we went with a pairing of the Saxon Brigandine, which is one of the fanciest looking cuirasses you can have in the game, specifically this green and gold variant, and then we paired all of the dark plate with it to really, we are able to utilize a lot of gold trim, which makes us look very, very fancy and expensive, and B, that darker stuff looks so good with that green and gold cuirass. So we have that Italian bassinet with the green trim on it, which I love so very, very much. Again, like I said, this is the helmet that I would pair with the Semine Knight if you wanted to wear a helmet. This one, I think, goes perfectly with that one. There's one other option. There's a green variant of the Noble bassinet, which also looks pretty good with the suit of armor, but I just really loved how dark and well-matched the Italian bassinet was with it. But then after that, we have the Noble's plate legs dark, the Nuremberg gauntlets, and the Nuremberg plate sleeves. Once again, we tried to match the color scheme and the trim as well as possible with all these. And I think it turned out looking amazing. This is a excellent suit of armor. Out of all the ones I've done so far for these like guides where I do 3 suits of armor, you know, for like a region, this one is my favorite Noble's outfit so far. It looks so good. And so taking a peek at it from the outside, once again, it looks better in the inventory screen because of how much more vivid the trim and everything is, but this one still just looks really good. So once again, we obviously have that very strong green accent going on. You can see the trim on the helmet, and of course the cuirass itself being having a lot of green. But then our armor just pairs so well. So we were able to match the colors very well for the armor. So our helmet, our sleeves, our gauntlets, and our legs all have that dark blackened steel look, and they have the brass trim on them wherever applicable. You know, we don't have any on the helmet, but we have it on the sleeves, legs, and gauntlets, and it just looks so good. I absolutely love the way the suit of armor turned out. Like I said, I still think the Knight is my personal favorite, but usually I don't like the Nobleman's outfit that I come up with too much. They look a little bit too posh and too polished. This one definitely has a lot more character than those ones do. And that's what it looks like with the helmet down. I just love the Italian bassinet. It looks so good. So stats on this one are pretty solid, of course. Makes sense considering, you know, we're wearing some of the best stuff in the game and we have total coverage. So stats on this one, we have a total weight of 118.2 pounds, which is only slightly heavier than our Semine Guard, but of course for significantly better protection. So weight-wise, that is not too terrible considering some of these items are pretty heavy. Our value is 26,043.1 groschen, so only about 4,000 groschen more expensive than the Semine Knight, which not crazy, you know, considering the value jump in our armor value and of course how fancy this looks, because this definitely does look like a suit of armor that would only be appropriate for a noble of some sort. Then moving on to our armor value, for the head we have an average of 195, for the body it's 189.3, for the arms it's 202.7, and for the legs it's 239.7, giving us an overall average armor rating, or AAR, of 206.7. So pretty phenomenal. You know, once you cross the 200 threshold, you've gotten into the territory of very, very well protected. I think the max we've ever come up with in the game is around 230, so this is not far off from that. Once you get above 200, you're pretty much as well protected as you can possibly be. And this one falls under that category, while also looking very good. And I don't know if you noticed, but our charisma was also either maxed out or very nearly maxed out for all 3 of these suits of armor. So that is it for the Semine Armor Guide. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any requests, if you'd like to see me cover other noble families from the area or other fortresses and kind of do the themes like we've been doing, let me know down in the comment section below. But in any case, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.